Hi everybody and welcome to SA Soccer Magazine. I've got Oliver Keohane, Money Boy. I am the Money Man, Kevin Ferguson, and we're here to talk about the final. A dream final, really, when you consider the Argentina-France. It could have been Morocco-Croatia, which I think worldwide audience would have gone for half.
There's only so much that you like a story, you know?
Yeah. And talking about stories, you've got probably the youngest and arguably the best up-and-coming player in Mbappe versus, to me, the greatest footballer that's ever played in Messi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how would you rate the World Cup out of 10 so far in terms of it as a spectacle?
It's tough. I mean, there've been some brilliant games. Obviously, it's been sort of marred by controversy since the beginning. I think the upsets go both ways. You know, it's like I think the most upsets, according to I think you sent me the graphic, but there was like a statistical breakdown of what constitutes an upset, and it's when it's lower than a certain probability or whatever. And this World Cup has had the most recorded upsets.
Yeah.
And you know that's great.
Well, big upsets.
Big upsets.
Big upsets. Yeah. Like anything between 16.67% and with a chance to win to 33% chance of winning. So, I mean, yeah, those are what are considered big upsets.
Look, I mean, despite the fact that teams have come through that you wouldn't expect, I think we've been lucky enough to get, we had two very good semi-finals, and we've got a great final lined up. So ultimately, it's kind of best result you could have hoped for when you've got an incredibly competitive final. You've got two teams that play great football, and you've got great stories behind it. You know, it's back-to-back World Cups for France, potentially Mbappe by the age of 24 to win 2 World Cups. But then you've got Messi at his 5th World Cup, you know, having carried that Argentinian team on his back at every tournament, basically. You know, farcically, people say a career-defining moment. He doesn't need to define anything, but just how great would it be to watch Messi lift that World Cup?
Well, no, it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. But you know, part of the debates of greatness always come around the achievements. Yeah. And winning a World Cup would only add to that, you know, because it'll take away that argument in the debate of the other people that say he's not the greatest, or one of the greats. So, you know, for him to win the World Cup, and that's the story for me. I mean, you know, I think you picked Argentina to win. Yeah. And it's look, France have got a lot of quality, and to me, France is the favorite to win win the World Cup. Now, I put them down as one that they would disappoint, especially with Benzema not playing, and geez, did they bitch slap me into being wrong.
Jeez, I mean, that French side, I suppose, just has, you know, you've got Giroud in, again, the last World Cup he'll play in. But there was a like-for-like there with Benzema, and he came in, and it could have gone one or two ways. You know, he could have been off the pace, or he could have delivered in the way that he always has for France, and the latter, and he's been phenomenal. But I think it was so evident in that Moroccan game, I mean, like, what a story, Morocco in this World Cup. You know, to knock out Belgium, to knock over Spain, to knock over Portugal. And they had so much support there in the semi-final. They played with such passion. They played good football, but at a certain point, you know, when you've just got like for like, there's 11 players on the field.
Yeah, and they don't have the depth, you know. And it's certainly, I think, one of the things that have contributed to the upsets and what we're seeing different is the heat, the time of the year. Quite frankly, I mean, I can't wait for this World Cup to be over so we can get back to Premier League football and enjoying that, because, you know, as soon as Brazil went out for me, they were my bet of the tournament, so that ended with that. I do have Messi to be top goal scorer, so
I also took him at the start of the
11-1. So I'm hoping he's tied with Mbappe on 5. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Mbappe gets a mild injury and has to be subbed off, and Messi goes on to score a penalty or two. You know, it's. I mean, that to me is why we've seen a lot of different things here in the World Cup with the timing of it. And there's been a lot of injuries in the World Cup.
Well, I read a piece now in The Athletic, a great piece about Messi, but the journalist points out where Olympic athletes sort of train for 4 years to peak in a 4-year cycle. Sports tournaments like a Soccer World Cup, most notably, it's at the end of like a long season for players, or in this one, like mid-season.
Mid-season, yeah.
At the height of the Premier League, La Liga, whatever guys are, float off to Qatar to play in conditions very few have played in before. Obviously with, conscious that they're going back into a second half of top flight football, having come off the first half of top flight football. So it's a very weird...
Yeah, though I do find it a bit sanctimonious and ironic that FIFA worries about peak athletes playing over 90 minutes when the people that were building those stadiums were putting in 12-hour shifts in 50-degree weather,
Yeah.
So puts
that in can of worms.
Yeah, and puts it in perspective, though. It's look, it's come in the mid-season. No one had experienced this sort of thing before, and let's hope we don't have to experience it for a while.
Yeah.
But so, saying that, who's your biggest disappointment this World Cup?
From a team perspective, or from a player's perspective?
Team.
Germany. I thought Germany were very. That's 2 World Cups in a row that they didn't progress past the group stages.
Yeah.
Not even make it to the round of 16. I've got some German blood, so.
Sorry to hear that.
It's fine. Easy access to most of Europe.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably say Germany. I was disappointed that Brazil didn't go through. It was incredibly tense. I think it was Friday evening when the quarterfinals were played. Much more tense than I expected it to be. And I was at Carlisle's watching the Brazil-Croatia game. It was wave after wave of Brazilian attack, and just like that, it was 1-0. And then it was penalties, and such is the nature of soccer. But I watched the Neymar documentary earlier this year. I really enjoyed it. It's like a 3-part docu on Netflix. Gave you a little bit more context to the player. And it seems so sort of like characteristic of his career, where it's like just one of the most talented footballers of his generation, kind of just always seeming to like fall short of some sort of expectation, And it was a tough one, because for me it was, Argentina versus Croatia, supporting Argentina to win the World Cup. I would have much rather had that, but what a semi-final Brazil-Argentina would have been. So mixed feelings when they got knocked out. But yeah, I would imagine they're your biggest disappointments.
No, for me it had to be Belgium. Obviously, they looked pedestrian. They looked old.
Yeah.
They looked off the pace. Wales as well were a massive disappointment to me.
You'd expect a little bit more from them here.
A little bit. We were beaten badly when we were beaten. Seeing how US did, it wasn't bad, the 1-1 draw, but geez, we were nowhere.
Yeah.
But Belgium for me, obviously the team for me that impressed the most was Morocco. Punched above their weight and really planted a flag for Africa. Though many people would say they're Southern European and not African, but yeah.
Well, I think what was great about Morocco was I felt like I was watching some really great, some good, intense football every time they played. It wasn't one of those situations where you got a team that somehow is 0-0ing it, 1-1ing it, but in the most boring fashion, and kind of, it's like, it was exciting watching Morocco play. And despite them losing 2-0 last night, it was a great game, and for a team to go 1-0 down so early on against a side like France, and to get the sense that they were in it the whole time, really speaks to, if you just look at what those players are valued at, price-wise, in their respective leagues versus the French players, incomparable, aside from maybe Hakimi and Ziyech. So yeah, what a fantastic sort of stepping stone. To boost kind of African presence in World Cups, and I think there'll be an even greater interest now than there was before.
Yeah, I think so as well. The game's on Sunday, the culmination of a month of football.
Yeah.
Who are you picking and why?
I'm picking Argentina to win in extra time.
Really?
Yeah. And I think... Okay, well, let me give my score first. I'm going to say it's 1-1 over normal time, and I think Argentina score in extra time. I do think that both teams to score, I've got it valued here at 1.98 in regular time is a good bet.
Both teams to score in regular time.
1.98, so that's nearly 2 to 1.
Yeah, give me money.
You know, neither of these sides are defensively oriented sides. Great defenders, but not defensively oriented. They'll be looking to score. And yeah, I mean, look, again, especially in knockout phase, if a team scores early, which is likely to happen, that changes the whole dynamic of the game. And there's so much passion riding on this game from such passionate nations as well. Yeah, I see it being a fight, and I do see goals. However, I think they're so evenly stacked, and the bookies.
What's the over? What's the over 2.5?
Over 2.5 for me is sitting at 2.30.
Over 2.5. You know, the thing for me, Ollie, is that at 2.3 for 3 or more goals, or more than 2, is a good bet, because these teams both play decent attacking football. I do see both of them scoring, and let's hope we get an early goal, because then that changes and it just creates a bit more intensity in the game, you know. Otherwise, then it's a possession game, and teams are very conservative. And you just whoever plays to win this game will win it.
Look, to be honest, for me, so wanting Argentina to win is you want the game to go that way, because you saw in the final 20 minutes against Australia, and then in that 15-minute implosion against Netherlands. Temperament when they've got to hold a lead or keep a team out from scoring is questionable, you know, in those moments. And you would rather it was the dynamic of the game was that it was just high intensity scoring, you know, attacking, trying to score goals, not shit, we need to hold off a French defense for the last 10 minutes, you know. And Otamendi decides to implode again and just foul everybody on the field.
Well, that's it. I mean, if you can get a 2-0 lead, but I mean, look, I thought they were excellent against Croatia.
Yeah, no, it was...
and took their chances, took them well. Messi was just brilliant.
Yeah, man of the match again. I think I'd be interested. I don't know what the stats are, but how many times he's been man of the match this World Cup as well?
Well, he's been arguably player of the tournament.
Yeah. I think it would be criminal for him to not get player of the tournament.
Well, you know, we've got one more game, and that game can decide on bringing a World Cup to your country or not. So before that, I mean, I'd like to see that play itself out. Mbappe, I don't like him. You know, from what I read about him and how much of a disruption he can be.
How he conducts himself.
Yeah. But from a class point of view, the way that Messi is adapted to Paris Saint-Germain and his role there, without complaining, without anything, you know, it would just be bittersweet revenge for Messi to lift this World Cup. Not only for that reason, one, to cap what has been arguably one of the best football players, if not the best football player of all time.
Yeah.
He's won a Copa. Ronaldo's won a European. The same difference in the continents. And Ronaldo's been nowhere in a World Cup. And you just love, because I think
he's training at Real Madrid apparently. I don't know if you saw that.
Who is?
Ronaldo.
I don't really care about Ronaldo. You know? It's,
so what is your score prediction for Sunday evening?
Well, you know, I don't bet with my heart. So I think 2-0 France.
Really?
Yeah.
2-1 Argentina extra time for me.
Look, I won't be betting on the game.
Yeah.
But if I had to place a bet, 2-0 for France, but my heart will be cheering for Argentina.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not going to wish you good luck on that one.
No. Don't. Wish me unluck. Anyway, good luck to you.
Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Ollie.